There's a particular kind of horror that lingers beneath the waves. It's not sudden or violent, it's slow, creeping, patient, waiting with a silence that has lasted eons. Few capture this fear better than H.P. Lovecraft, whose isolated childhood, marked by illness and his father's madness, and an overbearing mother to boot, left him obsessed with the unknown. His stories were shaped by a fear of cosmic insignificance, a love of old literature, and the belief that ancient hidden forces lurk just beyond human understanding. With that in mind, I've chosen one of my favorite Lovecraft stories because no tale embodies the suffocating dread of the deep quite like The Shadow over Innsmouth. It starts as an investigation, a nameless narrator wandering into a town that feels wrong. The people move strangely, their faces just a little off, their voices a little too wet. And as the mystery unravels, the truth comes clear. These people are no longer human. They are becoming something else, something that belongs to the ocean, something that was always waiting for them to return. Innsmouth wasn't just a story about monsters. It was a story about transformation, inevitability, and secrets too deep for the human mind to grasp. And that's the exact kind of energy that fuels this next class of white flag penumbrals. In the I Ching, or Book of Changes, the water trigram represents mystery, the unknown, and the unseen currents that shape all things. It is both the abyss and the source of all life, the void and the flood. So when it came time to create the second class of penumbrals, after the earth-aligned Vexa that was highlighted in the previous video, it was only natural that the water-aligned class would take on these same attributes: the deep, the hidden, the ones who move unseen beneath the surface, delivering messages and relics across the vastness of existence. And we call them Azhir. Now, I drew inspiration for the Azhir from a number of different sources, one of which was the comic of The Shadow over Innsmouth illustrated by Go Tanabe that I showed earlier. Another that I drew a ton of inspiration from, particularly for this kitbash, was from the haunting submerged sculptures of Jason Decar Taylor, whose work transforms human forms into coral-encrusted relics of the deep. His underwater installations, which are statues frozen in time, overtaken by the slow, inevitable creep of the ocean, capture the same eerie stillness and quiet transformation that I used to define the Azhir. Jason's art speaks of forgotten civilizations, lost knowledge, and the ever-present weight of the ocean. Now, penumbrals exist to move things, be they messages, artifacts, secrets. And for the Azhir, their domain is water in all its forms: the currents, the deep oceans, the sunken cities forgotten by time. But not all water is the same. Surface waves are chaotic, wild, ever changing. The mid depths are a place of strange beauty, currents weaving unseen paths across the world. And the ocean floor? That's where light dies. That's where time itself is crushed by the weight of the abyss. So the Azhir are divided into 4 specialized subclasses, each adapted to a different level of the deep. At the surface, the waves are unpredictable and movement must be fast. The storm glass couriers operate here, keeping the link between land and deep sea Azhir intact. They wear high-pressure diving suits, complete with fins, fitted and reinforced, their black glass helmets revealing nothing of what lies within. Their tanks, large ball-like structures on their backs, have not just oxygen reserves, but also act as propulsion systems, allowing them to dive quickly, move rapidly, and return just as fast. They don't linger. They deliver, disappear, and return only when called. Deeper down, where reefs grow like cities and the darkness is alive, rules a figure known only as Meraxus, the drowned voice. Meraxus is unlike any other penumbral. Her head is that of an octopus, her long, slender body flowing with the currents rather than fighting them. She does not swim, she glides. Two attendants drift beside her, the Rayborn, their mantle-like heads ever watching. The abyssal court does not speak. They listen. They interpret the whispers of the deep, guiding the Azhir with knowledge that only silence can uncover. There is no light in the trenches. There is no sound. There is only the void, and the ones who move within it. The lure wardens are fathom runners in the deepest waters, long eel-like forms that twist and coil through impossible darkness. Their faces, human but wrong, are stretched at the front end of their bodies, their mouths frozen in silent half-formed words. The lure wardens' contorted faces are the remnants of those who fully surrendered to the abyss, their identities stretched and warped by the crushing depths, no longer individuals, but echoes of what they once were, eternally guiding others through the darkness. Their lures glow in front of their faces with a cold green light, not to attract prey, but to guide lost travelers, to lead those who must reach the unreachable. And at the bottom, where the weight of the world is absolute, the Siltborn keep the foundation intact as ocean floor navigators. The Siltborn are made up of an eclectic group. The Stone Wardens, first, are squat-bodied, jellyfish-headed engineers, encased in purple armor. They bury cables, entrench strongholds, and stand guard against what waits below. The Dwarves of the Leagues of Votan and Necromunda's squat prospectors are perfectly suited for deep-sea exploration due to their compact, heavily muscled physiology, which naturally resists the crushing pressures of the abyss. Their engineering mastery, reliance on advanced exosuits, and ability to endure extreme environments make them the ideal builders, defenders, and couriers in the ocean's darkest depths. The Iron Drifter is a machine Krieger model, sliding across the ocean floor like a horseshoe crab, using a hover-like technology that allows it to carry relics, ferry warriors, and never stop moving across the sand-laden bottom of the ocean floor. Then we have the four-legged crawler called the Depth Stalker. Its pilot, a hybrid of fish and man, its twin tubes carrying secrets or maybe weapons, depending on what the deep requires, often is found to accompany the Iron Drifter. And finally, we have the Tube Singers. They are not human, and they never were. Long, worm-like, their bodies designed to dig, to bury, to whisper through the sands. Their songs travel through the currents, carrying messages that only those attuned to the abyss can hear. The Azhir are not warriors. They are not conquerors. They are the tide. They are the deep. And they remain, watching, waiting, moving through the currents of the world that have forgotten their name. We have now covered 2 of the 8 penumbral classes based on the 8 trigrams from I Ching. Stay tuned for future kitbashes covering others. If you're interested in staying more closely connected to what's happening with White Flag and upcoming projects, I invite you to please consider joining White Flag Patreon. The free tier gives you access at least to the community and some of the updates of work in progress. And the paid tier actually features a series of members only videos called Portraits on Patreon, where I go in more depth into specific artists and how they inspire kitbashing and painting. Would be great if you join us there. And I want to give a special thank you to my Limonarch tier members, Naveen, Alexander, and Tim, and my Penumbrals level member, Yakub, as well as all of the initiates who've also joined. It's a great community, and I really appreciate the feedback you give me in upcoming White Flag initiatives. And as always, thanks for watching.